You don't hear about what really happens inside Texas prisons. Not on the news, not from officials, and certainly not from those still serving time. What you're about to see isn't just a story about crime and punishment. It's about a system so vast, so sealed off, that it's evolved into something else entirely. An ecosystem fueled by control, violence, and silence. Inside, gangs issue orders more efficiently than the guards. Solitary confinement isn't just used to punish, it's used to break. And in some units, survival isn't about following the rules, but knowing which ones to avoid. Over the next 8 minutes, we're going inside, into a network ruled by fear, where 3 brutal truths reveal how the system is collapsing from the inside out. This is the hidden reality of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And once you've seen it, you won't see American prisons the same way again. If you believe these stories deserve to be seen, not buried, hit like, subscribe, and share this video. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice operates over 100 state-run prisons. On paper, it's one of the largest correctional systems in the United States, spanning thousands of square miles, holding more than 130,000 inmates, and employing tens of thousands of staff. But what the public rarely sees is the fracture line running straight through its core. In 2024, internal reports revealed a crisis years in the making. Only 3 out of every 10 correctional officer positions were filled. Many units were operating on skeleton crews, some relying on mandatory overtime, double shifts, or minimally trained substitutes just to stay afloat. According to an AP News investigation, the staffing shortage became so severe that prisons began shutting down entire housing units, not for renovations, but because there simply weren't enough officers to secure them. At one point, more than 4,000 positions across TDCJ sat empty. But the real story isn't about who's missing. It's about who's taking their place. Because when a prison structure collapses from within, someone always steps in to take control. And in Texas, that control doesn't come from the top. It rises from the tiers. This is where the chain of command reverses, where officers are outnumbered, where policies become survival strategies, and where true power doesn't belong to the state, but to the gangs running it from inside. Inside Texas prisons, authority is supposed to come from the department, through wardens, officers, and procedures. But that command has already been compromised by someone else. Prison gangs in Texas aren't cliques or self-defense crews. They're structured syndicates with ranks, rules, economies, and internal justice systems. The Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, with an estimated 3,500 members, operates with military-like precision. Their allegiance may be rooted in white supremacy, but their mission goes beyond ideology. They control contraband, especially narcotics, and they enforce loyalty with calculated violence. Orders pass through coded letters, smuggled notes, or whispers. Disobedience is punished swiftly, sometimes fatally. Then there's the Texas Syndicate, roughly 1,300 members strong. Originally formed to protect Hispanic inmates, it has grown into a criminal enterprise with reach far beyond prison walls. Inside, its members manage drug trafficking, extortion, and debt collection. Outside, they've been tied to cartel-linked operations. These aren't gangs hiding from authority. They are the authority. They decide who eats, who works, who gets a phone, who gets stabbed. And when violence erupts, it isn't random. It's sanctioned. Hits are ordered like clockwork, targeting rivals, deserters, even staff, using shanks crafted from toothbrushes, razors, or metal scraps. These aren't rage-fueled outbursts. They're transactions in a system where reputation is currency and silence is enforced. In a place with too few guards and too many blind spots, these groups don't just survive, they dominate. They rewrite the rules. They run the prison from the inside out. Some prisons punish the body. Polunsky punishes the mind. Located in Livingston, Texas, the Polunsky unit houses the state's male death row inmates, and it enforces the most extreme form of isolation in the system. Each man is locked alone in a cell barely larger than a walk-in closet, about 60 square feet, for 22 to 24 hours a day. No contact, no shared meals, no group recreation, just food through a slot in the door and 1 hour of isolated movement in a caged pen. Human connection barely exists. Over time, that silence turns toxic. According to the Texas Observer, at least 5 suicides occurred on Polunsky's death row between 2004 and 2023, more than in the previous 25 years combined. Inmates report hallucinations, paranoia, and cognitive decay. One of them, Mark Robertson, has spent 31 years on death row, 21 of them in near total solitary confinement. In a 2023 class action suit, his lawyers described Polunsky's conditions as cruel and unusual punishment, citing mental deterioration even in previously stable inmates. And it's not just anecdotal. National watchdogs have ranked Texas death row as one of the most psychologically destructive environments in the country. But in 2025, something shifted. A pilot program at Polunsky allowed some supervised group interaction for death row inmates. For the first time in decades, some men saw others face to face. Early reports show reduced self-harm and fewer disciplinary incidents. But those changes remain rare, because Polunsky wasn't just built to isolate, it was built to erase. And for many inside, death isn't the sentence. It's the slow dismantling of identity, memory, and the human mind. Mari Johnson was a corrections officer at Robertson Unit. In 2016, during an early shift, she entered a supply room alone. Minutes later, she was found murdered, strangled by an inmate with a violent history. Her death wasn't an anomaly, it was an alarm bell. A system stretched so thin, so unprotected, that even its enforcers weren't safe. And while officers live in fear, others live in silence. One former Polunsky inmate described solitary as hell, not because of pain, but because of stillness, the slow vanishing of time, of memory, of self. These aren't isolated incidents, they're patterns. And the deeper you go, the more one question rises. If the chaos inside these prisons fuels private contracts, political careers, and unchecked power, who is the system really built to serve? Because if those meant to guard it are dying, and those trapped inside are forgotten, maybe the system was never about justice at all. Maybe it was always about control. The Texas prison system is vast, powerful, and deeply fractured, trapped in a shadow hierarchy where authority no longer flows from the top down. Behind these walls, another government thrives, one built on fear, silence, and rules no court can touch. So we have to ask, if prison is no longer a place of rehabilitation, what happens when society locks people away, only to leave them in the hands of something worse? When punishment becomes profit, when justice becomes currency, what are we really building behind bars? And if you're compelled to keep uncovering hidden truths, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss the next story that was never meant to be told. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.